Rwandan genocide.
Okay, so we're going to start with the historical context. In the late 1880s, Rwanda became part of the German East Africa. So first Rwanda was given to, so Germany took control of Rwanda. But then after that, after the First World War, Germany got defeated by Belgium, and then Rwanda was under the power of Belgium. And then around 1885, they had a meeting in the, what do you call it? They had a meeting, and then they gave Rwanda control, they gave Germany control of Rwanda back again. So it was kind of a switch-swatch thing. And then around 1916, Belgium took over the country but allowed the traditional hierarchy to run the country. So they, although Belgium had ruling over Rwanda, they allowed the same government to run the country. Around 1926, the Belgians introduced ethnic identity cards. So identity cards were kind of like passports, and they like had ethnic backgrounds, and they said who you were and what age you were, so you had to carry them around. And by 1957 came the publication of Hutu Manifesto, and what they basically did with that, they criticized the Tutsis for being better than them. So it didn't benefit the Tutsis, but it benefited the Hutus. And then when the king of Rwanda died, he was a Hutu, and then the Tutsis basically went against, the Hutus basically went against the Tutsis because they thought it was their fault that their king died. In 1962, Rwanda granted independence. So when Rwanda got their independence, the Hutus went kind of crazy. They basically named the whole thing for themselves. Rwanda was basically under their control by that time. And then,
hello? Someone was standing close, can you answer?
Around 1963, Tutsis were forced to flee because in 1959, they basically left. And then because they left, they decided to attack Rwanda from neighboring countries, and because they didn't want to not fight back, and fighting back didn't really work out for them. In 1967, the massacres against the Tutsis kept going. So between 1967 and 1973, they were just basically killing all the Tutsis. So there was mass massacres going on at that time. And in a period of 100 days from April 1994, it is estimated that around 800,000 Tutsis were murdered. So during those 7 years, all they were really doing, the Hutus were killing Tutsis. That's basically it.
The targets that were involved, the people that were involved in this genocide were the Tutsis, the Hutus, and the Twa. And the Twa are basically people now that lives in the Congo. There's not that many of them now in Rwanda, but most of them fled to the Congo. And the Tutsis were the main targets in the genocide, and Hutus and Tutsis had a lot in common, such as they spoke the same languages, and they inhabited in the same areas and followed the same traditions. Like everything, like they had the same religion, they had the same tradition of like when to marry. Like they had this thing where you had to get married when you were around like 18, and it was okay to get married around that time. So everything that they had were always together. Tutsis were the main targets because of the way they looked. If they were taller and thinner, they were considered Tutsis. And most of the Hutus, they were more lighter. They were lighter than the Tutsis. The Tutsis origin lies in Ethiopia, and where the Hutus origin lied in Chad. So they both came from different backgrounds, but in reality, they both had the same. They shared the same background in a way. The Hutus were the perpetrators. They were the ones who were killing the Tutsis, and they felt that they were more superior and they had the right to be in control. So they didn't care about the Tutsis. They wanted to be in control. They would do anything that they would in their power to get the Tutsis out of Rwanda. And the Tutsis were known to have more wealth and social status. Like before, when the Belgian came in, they gave the Tutsis the right to, they gave the Tutsis, like, they said that they were the one that had like the more social classes. They would give them more wealth. They had a lot of things, well, possessions. But then later on, the Tutsis took over. They like kind of overused that power that they gave them. They kind of left out the Hutus. They only took the power to themselves. They were like, they had a better education. They didn't want the Hutus to have a good education. But then later on, after the president died, the Hutus became in control now, and they were paying back to the Tutsis. And they were like, see what you did to us back then? You kicked us out of school, you didn't give us a good education, and now we're gonna take over. And that's the reason why the Hutus took over of Tutsis and decided to kill them.
So, how was the genocide executed? So, the Hutsis, like them, Hutsus. Talking about Tutsis. Anyways, so they murdered the Tutsis by throwing their bodies in the water, the river, meaning like they were sending them back to Ethiopia. They slaughtered them. About 100 of them were refugees. A total of millions of men, children, and women were killed. They were raped and beaten by Tutsis. And there was a radio advertisement that helped mobilize 300,000 Hutus. And the Hutus were bribed to kill the Tutsis with money and food. And with the return of refugees, there was a trial in 1996 and 1997, and a lot of Hutus were being sentenced on trial.
So here, these are just a couple of pictures of pretty much what was going on in Rwanda. As you can see, like, there were bodies pretty much lying everywhere. A lot of people didn't know what to do. People really didn't know what to do when they saw sites like this. A lot of these, like, didn't really get around. So it was like only the people that lived in Rwanda was seeing this stuff happen. So as you can see, like, there's bodies pretty much laying in like the dirt roads, like just there. There's people who are like brutally injured, as you can see on the bottom left. And the people who were trying to help, as you can see in the bottom right, like, there was just too many like bodies to take care of. So pretty much out of all of this, the only good thing was that at least people were trying. Like, many people have tried to stop them from, the Hutus from fighting and whatnot, but that just ended up in a lot of the fighting migrating to the Congo. So, but there's still a lot of like peacekeeping forces, but even then they're still having trouble stopping all the, pretty much the Hutus and the Tutsis from fighting.
So how successful have these attempts been? It was successful because at the ending, the beginning of 1996 to 1997, there was a trial that they put the Hutus for killing the Tutsis. And they had the United Nations, who was also involved, like the tribunal for Rwanda. And altogether there was 900,000 criminals that were put in jail, which are the Tutsis, and till this day, there's still people found guilty.
And the UN are the ones that created this tribunal for Rwanda. They actually built that themselves. They went in Rwanda and they didn't want just to have a jail for the Hutus in their own country. So they set up this tribunal for Rwanda in Rwanda. So basically, they were the one that built it for the Hutus that were basically part of the genocide.
And roadblocks, meaning like if things were successful, and we say yeah, because the new president Kagame, he became president of Rwanda, and the treatments for the witnesses and the incompetence among tribunal, meaning that there was no decisions to be made in court trials. In the beginning, the Tutsis were considered more superior, and like they were better because they had like more education than the Hutus. And the Belgium came in the beginning of 1962 to help the Rwandans, give them their freedom. And after that, the Hutus took over and made their own plans.
Okay, we're all familiar with the 8 stages that we learned in class, and the Rwanda genocide actually followed all 8 stages. And the first one is classification. When the Belgians came in, they classified the Hutus and the Tutsis. They gave them identity cards that said,